I was broke. That's the only reason I took the job. The gas station was called Last Stop Fuel. It sat on a lonely stretch of Highway 4, surrounded by miles of endless, rustling cornfields. No town for 20 miles. No streetlights. Just the buzzing neon sign and the hum of the slushy machine. The manager, a greasy guy named Earl, handed me the keys on my first night. "It's an easy job, kid," he grunted. "Keep the floors mopped, restock the cigarettes, and stay behind the bulletproof glass." He started to walk out, then stopped. "Oh, and read the list taped to the register. Follow it exactly. Don't be a hero." Then he left. I was alone. I looked at the register. Taped next to the screen was a crinkled piece of notebook paper. The handwriting was jagged, like someone wrote it in a hurry. "The night shift rules. If the phone rings at exactly 2 a.m., do not answer it. Just let it ring. If a black sedan with no license plates pulls up to pump 6, turn off the outside lights immediately. Do not turn them back on until they leave. Never, under any circumstances, sell cigarettes to the man with the wide brim hat. Tell him we are out. Don't look at the scarecrow in the cornfield across the street for more than 5 seconds. It moves when you watch it. If someone knocks on the glass door and asks to use the bathroom, check their feet. If their feet are backward, hide in the freezer." I laughed. I actually laughed out loud. "Okay, Earl," I muttered, trying to scare the new guy. "Very funny." I crumpled up the note and tossed it in the trash. That was my first mistake. The first few hours were boring. I scrolled through my phone. I mopped the floor. Then, the digital clock on the wall clicked to 2 a.m. ring. The landline phone on the counter screamed into the silence. I froze. I looked at the trash can where I threw the rules. RING. It's just a coincidence, I thought. Probably a wrong number. I reached out and picked up the receiver. "Last Stop Fuel. This is..." I didn't finish the sentence. On the other end, there was no voice, just a sound. The sound of hundreds of people screaming in agony, layered on top of each other. And underneath the screaming, a wet, guttural voice whispered my name. "Jacob." I slammed the phone down. My hands were shaking. I dug the list of rules out of the trash and smoothed it out on the counter. I wasn't laughing anymore. I stood there, staring at the paper. My heart was hammering against my ribs. Okay. Rule 1 broke. What was Rule 2? If a black sedan with no license plates pulls up to pump 6, turn off the outside lights immediately. I looked out the window. The station was bathed in harsh fluorescent light. The pumps stood like silent sentinels. Pump 6 was the furthest one away, right near the edge of the darkness where the cornfield began. Movement caught my eye. A car was turning off the highway. It wasn't just a car. It was an old, matte black Hearst-style sedan. It moved silently, like it was gliding on oil. No headlights, no license plates. It rolled slowly past pumps 1, 2, and 3. It stopped exactly at pump 6. I scrambled for the light switches on the wall. Come on, come on. Which one is it? I started flipping switches. The inside lights went out. The sign went out. Finally, I hit the main breaker for the canopy. Click. The station plunged into darkness. The only light came from the moon and the dim red glow of the register screen. I ducked behind the counter, peeking over the edge. The driver's door of the black sedan opened. A figure stepped out. It was tall, impossibly tall. It had to unfold itself to get out of the car. It wore a long trench coat. It didn't reach for the gas nozzle. It just stood there, facing the station. Facing me, it raised a hand and waved, a slow, stiff wave. Then it got back in the car. The engine didn't make a sound as it reversed and drove back onto the highway, disappearing into the night. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. I waited 10 minutes before turning the lights back on. I checked the list again. Rule 3, the man with the wide brim hat. I prayed he wouldn't come. But at 3:15 a.m., the door chimed, ding dong. A man walked in. He looked normal. Jeans, a flannel shirt, but on his head was a wide-brimmed cowboy hat that shadowed his eyes. He walked straight to the counter. He didn't look up. "Pack of Marlboro Reds," he said. His voice sounded like dry leaves scraping on concrete. I swallowed hard. I'm sorry, sir. We're out." He stood perfectly still. "I see them," he said, pointing a pale finger at the rack behind me. "Right there. Those are empty boxes," I lied. My voice cracked. "Display only." The man slowly lifted his head. Under the brim of the hat, there was no face, no eyes, no nose, just a smooth patch of skin and a mouth that was stitched shut with thick black wire. The mouth ripped open, snapping the wires. "Liar," he hissed. Then the lights flickered and he was gone. The door chime didn't even ring. Asterisk. I was trembling uncontrollably now. I locked the front door. I didn't care if I lost customers. I just wanted to survive until 6 a.m. I paced back and forth behind the glass. Rule 4. Don't look at the scarecrow in the cornfield. I knew I shouldn't look, but human nature is a curse. I glanced across the street. The cornfield was a wall of black stalks swaying in the wind. And there, about 50 yards in, was the scarecrow. It was mounted on a wooden cross, ragged clothes, a burlap sack for a head. I looked away quickly. 1, 2, 3. I looked back. It was closer. I swear it was closer. Before, it was 50 yards in. Now, it looked like it was right at the edge of the road. "Stop looking at it, Jacob," I whispered. I turned my back to the window and started restocking the candy bars. Just to do something. Tap, tap, tap. Something tapped on the glass behind me. I froze. Tap, tap, tap. I slowly turned around. Pressed against the glass of the front door was a burlap sack face. The scarecrow wasn't on the cross anymore. It was standing at the door. Its button eyes stared at me. Straw was poking out of its sleeves, and in its hand, it held a human finger. It tapped the finger against the glass. I screamed and backed away, knocking over a display of chips. When I blinked, the scarecrow was gone. I looked across the street. The wooden cross in the field was empty. I grabbed the landline to call the police, but then I remembered Rule 1. I couldn't use the phone. Then I heard a knock at the side door. The employee entrance. Asterisk Rule 5. If someone knocks and asks to use the bathroom, check their feet. The knocking at the side door was polite, gentle. I walked over. Through the small reinforced window, I saw a young woman. She looked distressed. Her makeup was running. She was shivering. "Please," she yelled through the glass. "My car broke down. I need to use the bathroom. Please let me in." My instinct was to open the door. She looked terrified. She looked like a victim. I reached for the lock. "Please," she sobbed. "It's cold out here." Then I remembered. I looked down. The bottom half of the door was glass too. I looked at her shoes. She was wearing sneakers, but they were pointing the wrong way. Her heels were facing me. Her toes were pointing toward the parking lot, but her torso and head were facing the door. Her feet were backward. I recoiled in horror. She stopped crying instantly. Her face went blank. Her jaw dropped open in a silent, unnatural smile. "Let me in, Jacob," she whispered. The glass vibrated. She started to bang on the door. Harder, harder, bang, bang. The safety glass started to crack. A spiderweb fracture spread from her fist. She was going to get in, hide in the freezer. I ran. I sprinted to the back of the store, past the slushy machines, and yanked open the heavy door of the walk-in freezer. I dove inside and slammed it shut, engaging the safety latch from the inside. I sat on a crate of frozen burgers, shivering in the sub-zero air. The lights in the store went out. Through the small window of the freezer door, I watched. I heard the side door shatter. I heard footsteps, clip-clop, clip-clop. Not shoes, hooves. The thing that looked like a woman was walking through the aisles. I saw its shadow pass the freezer door. It was sniffing the air. It stopped right in front of the freezer. I held my breath. My lungs burned. A human hand, but with backward fingers, slammed against the freezer window. It knew I was there, but it couldn't open the latch. It stood there for hours, scratching at the metal, whispering my name in my mother's voice. Asterisk. I stayed in that freezer until my fingers were blue. Eventually, the scratching stopped. I saw sunlight streaming through the shattered side door. It was morning. I pushed the freezer door open. My legs were stiff. The store was a wreck. Shelves were overturned. Slushy syrup covered the floor like blood. The glass door was shattered. I walked to the front counter. The list of rules was still there, but someone or something had added a new line at the bottom in red marker. Rule 6. You survived, but you didn't pay for the candy bar you ate. I touched my pocket. I had eaten a Snickers bar during the night while hiding. I hadn't paid for it. A cold wind blew through the broken door. A car pulled up. It was Earl, the manager. He walked in, stepped over the broken glass, and looked at me. He didn't look surprised. "Rough night?" he asked, sipping his coffee. "Rough night," I yelled. "Are you crazy? What is this place?" There was a scarecrow. There was a woman with backward feet. Earl just shrugged. "Yeah, the backward feet lady is tricky. Did you hide in the freezer?" "Yes." "Good." He walked to the register and opened it. He pulled out a stack of cash. "Here's your pay for the week, plus a bonus for the glass." He handed me $500. "You coming back tonight?" he asked. I looked at the money. I looked at the broken door. I looked at the cornfield across the street. The scarecrow was back on its cross, lifeless. "No," I said. "I quit." Earl nodded. "Fair enough. Most don't make it past the first night." I walked out to my car. I just wanted to go home and sleep for a week. I started the engine and drove away, watching the gas station disappear in the rearview mirror. I drove 10 miles, 20 miles. I started to relax. Then I glanced at the back seat in the mirror. Sitting there, perfectly still, was the scarecrow. It was wearing my name tag, and it held a Snickers bar in its straw hand. It slowly raised a finger to its burlap lips. She